Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, have you accepted Piplup as your personal lord and savior? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including a new trailer for Mario Golf Super Rush and the uncertain future of WB games. And then on Thursday, we'll be definitively ranking Nintendo spaceships. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Last week I was a little bit down on My Fair Lady after a recent half rewatch. I mostly watched it, but also fast forwarded through a surprising amount of it. I am happy to report, however, that the Music Man, I think, holds up. I enjoyed the Music Man immensely.
Music Man has that wonderful quality of being so obviously on a set, even though they're trying to depict outside so much. There is something so delightful about ducks on a soundstage. I don't know how to really pinpoint what it is about that brings me joy, but it does every single time.
I think it especially works for musicals. The Music Man is a great example because it comes from theater, and when you go see something on the stage, there's a sense of you're suspending your disbelief that
we're pretending together.
Exactly, that film generally tries to avoid. And but it works really well in a musical where you're just yep, makes total sense that this entire town is in a soundstage in this really artificial environment. It just feels right for something like that.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the the big show-stopping Singing in the Rain number from Singing in the Rain, where I'm like, oh, this is so fake, and I buy every second of it. It's so holistically satisfying.
And I guess you're right, especially with musicals, because you are already suspending your disbelief on top of any other suspension of disbelief that these people are breaking out into song, and so it's all just in good fun.
Yeah, it's all just goofs. Speaking of all in good fun and just goofs, my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. Would you like to borrow it? You can certainly try. All you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. And give us a mailing address where we can send you my copy of this game. You get to play it for as long as you want. You send it back. It costs you nothing. One thing that might happen is you may accidentally get my copy of Untitled Goose Game. I say it's accidental, but the goose has some sort of willpower here that it is asserting on the program. The program itself is perfect, so the goose, is part of it now. That's just it's part of the perfection.
Well, I mean, you are also a vessel in this process as well. So I think it's the goose is using you to channel its will.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I am but the instrument, and the goose is the maestro. Do you know what I mean?
I absolutely 100%, without a doubt, know what you mean and feel it deeply. The other thing we're doing is asking you to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate it so much. It helps people find the show. It warms our cold, dead hearts also to know that people are listening to it. And we really do appreciate it wherever you leave a review. I check the US Apple Podcast Store because that is what I have easy access to. And so thank you to Casio, who left us a 5-star review this past week. Also, just wanted to mention that somebody who left us a 5-star review last week, 111211131111, updated their 5-star review to clarify that they didn't go to high school with you, Patrick.
Okay, it must have been a different 111211131111.
Yeah,
it's a common name, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's pretty common. Actually, I was surprised to see it, although normally I feel like I'm familiar with it as a last name. I feel like maybe it wasn't. It might have been my family. Just I feel like it was pretty common when people were coming through Ellis Island that their names would get changed to
Sure, that
1112,
they would
1113, 111.
right. They used to be 1112, 1113, 111 Steen, and it got shortened. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, I had 3 111 2 111 3 111s in my graduating class, so because you never forget them because alphabetically they're right at the beginning of the list, and everyone else is after them. All right. Thank you so much for leaving reviews. We appreciate it. Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. So we have both been playing the Famicom Detective Club, the Missing Heir, the remake of the old Famicom Disk System detective game that was never localized until this very weekend. And we both picked it up. Mark, how are you enjoying Famicom Detective Club so far?
I'm loving it. I am I'm surprised at how good the story is. That
Yeah.
was unexpected to me. Like there are lots of twists and turns, things that I was not expecting to happen. Some of it, like I'm not at the end. How I'm in chapter 8 or 9, so I am nearing the
Oh,
end, but I'm
you're a
not
little
finished.
yeah, you're a little bit further than me. I'm in the middle of chapter 5 right now.
Okay, got it. Um,
Yeah.
like I feel like the big like twist or the answer to the mystery that is being set up is like fairly. I feel like I'm ahead of the main character. Um, but I find like the writing really charming. I like the look of the game. I'm
Oh, the
enjoying like
look is phenomenal. I think the presentation and the way it it almost feels like the animation is choppy, but I think it's a stylistic choice that like it is at a lower frames per second than even like a normal like movie is. Um so like sub 24 frames per second. But I all like adds to this sort of like anime look that like just really works for me.
yeah, totally. Like I don't know about you. I have definitely gotten like frustrated with the game a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I the nice thing about it is there's no fail state, right? Like
Yeah.
you cannot advance until you figure out what you have to do. And normally what that is like talking to somebody again, and it's not really intuitive a lot of times what you're I guess not a lot of times, but there are definitely multiple times per chapter where I'm like I don't entirely understand what I have to do to like get
Yeah.
past this state, and so I'm just going to go through every option in the menu again. And
Yeah.
occasionally it's like, okay, I go through every option in the menu again, nothing happens, and then I go through it again and finally something triggers and I'm like, I don't know why this didn't trigger the last time.
No, it is. I mean, it can be frustrating because like I always want it to be like, okay, if I've done everything, if I've done like all of the options, it should just like trigger onto the next thing. But like there's a part in the fourth chapter where you are so the premise of the game is that you are a detective who has amnesia, has just woken up near a cliffside that you have apparently fallen down and you can't remember anything, and someone has saved you. And there is a part in chapter 4 where you are in his apartment, in the apartment of the person who saved you. And he's like, why don't you go back to the cliff and see if there are any
Oh my gosh,
clues?
this part is infuriating.
This part is absolutely infuriating because what you have to do is you have to go to the cliff, like travel to the cliff area, investigate it, find nothing, go back to him, talk to him for a little bit about whatever, go back to the cliff, and then go back to him again. Like you have to go back and forth an undetermined number of times before the game will advance. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I just remembered something." Um, so yeah, I find the sort of invisible triggers to be um frustrating, and I think I encounter like one per chapter that like stumps me. Where like I'm like, well, I don't know, I'm just gonna make it. I'm just gonna try everything again. But beyond that one like frustrating trigger every chapter, everything feels very like natural and intuitive, and like I'm playing the game the way I would play like role playing detective game.
Yeah, I think that's true for the most part, or like at least for me, the good and like this the super fun of it. Like I'm having a ton of fun playing this game, that I'm able to forgive the
Yeah.
like those sort of like foibles. There was one in an earlier chapter where like and I guess minor spoilers for the game, but actually you might appreciate us talking about this if you play this. There's one where like you're talking to the doctor and there's like no option like other where it's like I feel like I exhausted everything. Where it's like I've talked to him about all the dialogue options multiple times. So it's like I
Yeah.
guess I'll look around the room. And what you are supposed to do is eventually like I clicked on the X-ray and he's like
Right.
and you're in
Oh,
the
would you like an X-ray?
right
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you have amnesia, like you hit your head. Do you want an X-ray? And it's like, okay, like I eventually got there, but that's not like super intuitive. But again, it's nice. It's not like an like some of the adventure games from the 80s, mostly like Western adventure games where like you can get stuck or you can fail, where it's like, oh, you didn't pick up this clue, or you talk to somebody and they get mad at you or something like that. It's like, no, you're free to like bug people as many times as you want. You know, you cannot
With
fail.
some exceptions, like well, not that you still can't fail, but like if you ask, is her name Akane, the
Mm-hmm.
the maid? If you ask her more than like two questions, she clams right up and is no longer talking to you anymore. But that's just part of her character. It really is it's remarkable how many of the characters I find to be like charming and well written
Totally.
characters. Is his name Zenzu, the butler? Um, he's great, super fun to talk to. Even the character of the detective himself, for being a character that you end up naming after yourself, it literally asks you what is your last name and what is your first name, which I think is amazing. It's not like name the character; it's like this is you.
Yeah.
um, but like I find his character interesting. Um, and yeah, just like every there's just and there's like a legend about this family that you're investigating, and the legend is basically that when one of them dies, they will return as as a ghost and like take revenge on the person that murdered them, which of course then frames the events of the murder mystery in a much more like sinister supernatural light. Um, and I don't know. I'm really really digging it. I love how unapologetically Japanese it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is something that I feel like if it had been localized in like 1988 or whenever the game came out, uh,
Totally.
would have been awful. They would have destroyed it. Um, yeah, I'm really happy with this game. I'm very glad that we both picked it up. And I think I'm probably gonna, when I finish, roll right into the next one.
I think I am too, which really surprised me because one, like the game, I is not that long, so it doesn't outstay its welcome. Like again, like I am fairly close to the end, and I think in totality, it's going to take me maybe 7 or 8 hours to do the whole
Yeah.
thing. So it feels achievable to do the second one. Um, and so yeah, I'm actually really excited to roll into the second game after it, which I guess is a prequel to this game, which makes sense then why like it does a check to see it, instead of when it before you input your name, it will do a check to see like do you have save data from the other one, because I'm assuming it just
Oh,
takes whatever
smart.
name you put in for that one. So I'm assuming actually the reverse will be true when we play the girl who stands behind. But the other thing that I wanted to say about this that I am enjoying a lot is how like very of its time it is. Like there are ashtrays everywhere. Like people like
Yeah.
characters smoke. Like it's kind of it's like I feel like if Nintendo were to create an adventure game from scratch, it maybe wouldn't have these elements. Because you just don't
Oh,
really
totally. It's remarkable. I mean, not just like the of its time stuff, but like um the the cliffside that I mentioned earlier is a notorious cliff for suicide. That people go to this cliff to commit suicide. And one of the murders that you're investigating is a suicide. Or at least appears to be a suicide, I guess. I don't know. um, but like it is you know, you had to accept like a little bit of darkness with a murder mystery, but like embracing so much suicide and as you say so much smoking and ashtrays and like a cigar box being like a point, or a tobacco box I guess, being like a point in the mystery that you're investigating. Yeah, it feels very like of its own identity. Like I don't outside of just like the general quality, it doesn't feel like it's a Nintendo game.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually enjoying it more than I expected I would.
Me too.
So I thought like the frustrations, or I guess I really wasn't expecting to enjoy the story as much as I am, but I'm pretty invested. I like it a lot.
I gotta say the background art in this thing is incredible. Like anytime you go into, and you'll go into the same locations like over and over again, right? Like you keep going back to the cliff, you keep going back to the family's mansion, and like a handful of rooms in there. But all of those drawings are just absolutely beautiful. Like they look like a Studio Ghibli film. Like just really really beautiful stuff. Um, and so anytime, and sometimes you'll go to the cliff and it's like during a sunset, and you're like, oh, everything here is gorgeous. Like it really is a feast. It makes me sort of curious what the Famicom graphics were like.
I looked it up, and it's hilarious how rudimentary it is. Like the comparison, because I agree. Like this new one looks so good and plays like, for the most part, other than those like frustrations we talked about, like
Yeah,
it plays like an adventure game, like I expected to. So it doesn't feel antiquated in that way. But yeah, the graphics are really funny in comparison. You should look up the screenshots. It's pretty great.
I will. I will. Are you playing with the arranged the like current arranged music, or with the original 8-bit music?
I am playing with the current arranged music, like the remakes music. Because again, just like with the graphics, I was curious to like to know, because I like the music, and so I was curious to know what like the 8-bit version that it's based on sounded like, and I do not enjoy listening to those compositions.
No, it's sort of grating, right? I had the same thought where I was like, "Oh, cool! I'm gonna put on the 8-bit music. This is gonna rule." And the sort of like atmospheric stuff that the new arrangements are really able to accomplish, or really able to, yeah, I guess accomplish, um, does not translate to 8-bit. Like,
Yeah.
it's it's amazing that someone took that source material and was like, "Oh, okay, I got it. I can change this. I can save this."
Do you think that it's worth the asking price? Like, do you think it's worth the $35?
That's tough. No, probably. I mean, I think 20 is a perfect like asking price for something like this. Um, but it's, I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, if it wasn't a Nintendo game, I would probably say no, right? Like, so yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know. I feel the same way. Like if it was an indie title that had like the same faults and like the same everything, I probably would be like, "Ooh, 35 is a lot for this." But that being said, like I'm enjoying it, and I'm about to pick up the
Yeah.
second one, so I'll be spending like $60 on this in totality after the discount. So like it's worth it, but just kind of like know what you're getting into. I wish they still had the vouchers,
Yeah.
because I feel like if you're in
Oh,
Europe
it'd
and
be
you can still
perfect.
buy
Yeah.
vouchers, like this is the perfect game to use vouchers on.
Although what the vouchers just let you buy two games for $100, right? Would it count these two games as one of
Oh
two?
yeah,
You know
that's
what
a
I mean?
great point. I have no idea. I don't know. That is too much math for me to try to
Yeah.
figure out on the air.
One third of a game. Yeah. What else is there to say about this? I do think that it's interesting. As we were maybe saying last week, in just experiencing like a slice of Nintendo history that had been sort of invisible to us prior to this. Um, but I think that like that's sort of how I was expecting to enjoy this game. And I do enjoy it that way, but it frequently gets overshadowed by just straight up enjoying the game, right? Like I'm just having fun playing it.
Have you been playing it in handheld mode or TV, or a little bit of both?
On the TV.
I've been playing it in mostly in handheld. I played for a little bit on the TV, but it feels to me like the perfect handheld game. And maybe it's
Yeah.
because I associate other kind of marginally similar. Like I'm a big Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney fan, and these games are not. They're not really similar, other than being like adventure games. Um, but I guess maybe just in my mind, I associate those types of things with like being a handheld experience. But so I've been playing it mostly in handheld.
That's smart. I feel like I should probably shift over to that. I would maybe not that I'm not enjoying it now, but like Some of it, there's something about it, a murder mystery that feels like cozy, feels intimate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And maybe bringing that closer to my face and like playing it in bed or something would feel good. All right. I also continue to play Picross S2, um, and have really been enjoying the Mega Picross games. Man, Mega Picross, the genius who invented that. I tip my hat to you, Mega Picross inventor.
Remind me again what Mega Picross is.
So Mega Picross will combine normal like Picross rules of just showing you on an individual line that there, 2 and then 3 and then 4, dots that you have to fill in. But it will also lump 2 lines together and say there is a continuous line of 5 dots, and it's not specific about where they are in that line or whether it's like one on the second of the 2 lines and then 4 on the other, or like 3 and 2 or 2 and 3 or whatever. And so it's just like you have to, it's like taking the concept of Picross and sort of like opening it up and like broadening it so you have like another dimension of it to think about at the same time. It's really engaging and super fun. And there was a long time that it intimidated the heck out of me. But now that I know how to do it, I feel very comfortable with it, and I feel like a genius when I do it right.
The only Picross games that I'm familiar with are like ones that are like specifically themed,
Yeah.
like Zelda Picross or Mario Picross or something like that. And then the puzzles in Murder by Numbers, which were all like associated with the murder, like they all had something to do with the mystery that you were trying to solve. And so, in just like a Picross game, are the images just like are there themes? Or are the images just like
No,
anything?
they're just stuff. And like there are a bunch of times where as I'm doing the Mega Picross puzzles where I'm like, oh, this is the same image that I solved in like another puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like, while you're in it, I mean, I don't when playing a Picross thing, I am so far from thinking of what the actual image is. Like I just see numbers and colored in squares and X's. Like that's all I see. Until it's done and then it like transforms into like, oh, a bird of some kind. Um, so yeah, I recognize them only when it's complete. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I already did this did this image. All right, so that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
This Friday, May 21st, Miitopia is released for Switch.
Yeah, sure is.
I don't remake of a Nintendo 3DS game. It's $50. Splitting that difference between a $60 Switch title or a $40 Nintendo 3DS title. I for whatever reason, I don't care about this at all. I don't feel like one
Yeah.
way or the other.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I don't care about this one way or the other. And also, I feel like I've got another Famicom Detective Club game that I'm going to start next week. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm
Yeah.
like, no, thank you. My time and money is spoken for. But yeah, I mean, even after that, I'm not like, I don't see the reason to get Miitopia, and maybe that'll change when reviews start hitting later this week. But like right now, it feels like a like the quintessential skip this one title for me.
Yeah, the part that I'm looking forward to from it is seeing again just more me's that people use, and then the or people create, and then kind of like the memes that come out of that, because there are some very because one of the things about the Nintendo 3DS is that it was nigh impossible to share anything from your Nintendo
Yeah.
3DS, like a screenshot. Like you could theoretically take screenshots and then transfer them from your like SD card to your somewhere else, your
To
computer.
pop the SD card out, which means that you had to like, it was tough because you had to like pull the whole thing off, and then it was like a weird cracking sound. It was like behind the battery or something. There was like, it was tough to do.
It was tough. It was tough to do, and like for whatever reason, the 3DS always felt like fragile enough, not like the system itself, but like
Yeah.
the software fragile enough that I'm like, if I remove this SD card, I'm worried it's gonna like reformat itself or something. But that won't be a problem with Switch. And there are a lot of I remember seeing videos that people would just like take with their phone of the 3DS screen of really like kind of like funny, delightful moments that happen in Miitopia. And so I think with the easier sharing on Switch, it'll be fun to see what kind of like stuff gets put out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if it will have that sort of social media traction. Like, there were a couple days where it was exciting to see what people were doing with the Me Maker tools in the Miitopia demo. But it was truly a couple days,
Yeah.
right? And like even a week later, like I wasn't seeing Mii's anymore. Um, so this will be a fun little experiment to see if it takes and if it does what people are able to share.
Also coming out on Friday, the new Nintendo Switch Lite blue color is released. And Knockout City is released on Switch and other platforms. And you will be able to play the game for free from its release on Friday to May 30th on all platforms. They're having like a free trial type thing, which is exciting to me because I wasn't able to play the open beta, but I feel like this looks like fun, and so I'm excited to be able to try it without having to spend like the $30 or whatever it is to buy it.
Yeah, and like encourage everyone to. I mean, it's a free game for 10 days, so like absolutely go and pick it up. I was in on the crossplay beta, and it was super fun and like really fast and like just enjoyable. It's a dodgeball game, with it's a tricked out like dodgeball kind of game, and I don't know. It's just like it's just fun and colorful. I really enjoyed my time with it. Like I
Is it
really really enjoyed it.
is it teams of 4? Like how many friends do you have to get together? Is it teams of 3? Like how many people is
Teams of
ideal?
3.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so that feels doable.
We could between you and I, we can get one friend together to do
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah, and I mean, I was playing with randos on the crossplay beta, and it was still fun. And it's a beta crowd is a little bit different than like everyone has access to it. But like important to note that even in this 10-day free trial period, it is crossplay. So like if you're playing on Switch, you can play with your friends on any other platform. Like it's everywhere. So yeah, I'm genuinely excited for this. And like honestly, I don't think I need more than 2 weekends. Come on. That's all I need with this game anyway.
Also, not strictly Nintendo related, but Nintendo Life noticed that Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is back on the iOS App Store. This is a Capcom game that was originally for the Nintendo DS and has been on mobile, or I guess been on iOS previously. Capcom occasionally like takes it down for a little bit to update it, so that way it can be played on like newer devices. But
Yeah.
I bought this back when it was originally released on the iOS App Store, and because after missing it on the DS, but hearing good things, and it really is a lot of fun. It's puzzle focused. You like possess objects and engage them in like Rube Goldberg esque ways to like advance the story and like solve puzzles. I and it's $10 to unlock the full game, but the first 2 chapters are free. And I really recommend if you're even just tangentially interested, downloading and checking it out. The story's really fun. The characters are great. And it has an amazing dog named Missile who plays a prominent role in it. Yeah, I highly recommend this game. Unfortunately, not on Android, but if you have an iOS device, it's worth downloading just to check out the free chapters, and you might end
Yeah.
up loving it as much as I do.
I'm sorry, did you say it? But is this a Capcom game, or did you say who it was?
Yeah, it's a Capcom
Yeah.
game. Hmm.
Cool. 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 Cool.
And I
Two
believe it's
chapters for.
the
Oh,
original. I was just gonna say that I think it was the original creator or director of the Ace Attorney series before
Oh.
he left Capcom. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Cool. And 2 chapters for free and then $10 to unlock the whole game is the old Super Mario Run model, which is not the highest level of success that they're going into it with.
Well, actually, I thought when Super Mario Run started, it didn't have the 2 free chapters, right? Isn't that what people were upset
No,
about?
you could. No, you could play the first, and we're saying 2 chapters, by the way. So it was a handful of levels.
Oh, right, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, even from the beginning, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
All right, those are the new releases. Let's close this out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, today we are doing a topic that was suggested by listener Alana for our 433 episode. She says, rank the typical house pets: cat, dog. Sorry, these are all pluralized in her example: cats, dogs, small mammals, reptiles, birds, and fish.
Should we explore what small mammals we're discussing? Because
Yeah.
I think
So, yeah.
like mouse might rank differently than long-haired guinea pig.
But I feel like we got to put them all together, like mouse, rat, gerbil, hamster, and guinea pig all got to be, they're all the same, they're all the same animal, right? Like I feel uh
Uh,
rabbit doesn't go in here. Rabbit's different.
I guess it has to. Well, we don't really have an option because rabbit is a household pet, but in the categories as
Right.
given, we would have to put it in with small mammals unless we are excluding rabbits from this ranking entirely.
No, let's include them in small mammals. I think that's fair. I think it gives small mammals like a little bit more clout, but I don't know enough that it would change the ranking, frankly.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay, so and then reptiles, we're talking like iguanas, snakes, turtles. That's it. I mean that's such a wide thing because I feel like turtle, cool pet. Snake, don't do that. I hate that.
Yeah, I know. I think we have to. Because I agree if we were to break it out. I mean, I guess we could do sub rankings where we're like, okay, rank reptiles in general and
Right.
then that is within. But I feel comfortable for me putting like birds at the bottom, maybe fish because you have even less interaction with them. But I just don't. I am not a bird person. I do not care for birds. And as this is our ranking, I would say birds at the bottom.
Right. I the only thing that I would push back on there is that there is the occasional awesome bird, right? Like every once in a while there's like a big cockatiel or something that like has a lot of personality, is like singing songs with Iggy Pop. Did you see that that video of of why can't I think of Iggy Pop, right? That's the guy's name. He's playing a song for his bird, and the bird is like grooving on it. Did you see this? It rules. But yeah,
No, I didn't see that.
otherwise, all other birds, I feel like the rest of the birds drag the average down to the point where like birds can be at the bottom.
Well, okay, actually, maybe you're right. Maybe fish should be at the bottom, not because they're not beautiful, but just because they're so passive. Like, no fish is going to groove to a song.
Right. Yes. Fish are plants, right? Fish are basically plants. Okay, fish at the bottom. Then birds. I could see being next because you could get them to groove to a song, and then probably reptiles, right?
Probably, but then if we're using the litmus test of groove to a song, you're not going to get a snake, a turtle, I don't think a lizard to groove to a song.
Oh yeah.
Like birds have more personality.
Yeah. Okay. So birds above reptiles. Then I'll
Because
agree with that.
even if it's a bad, crappy personality, at least like they have a personality. So okay, I do feel okay
Right.
about that.
And then I think small mammals just sort of by default goes next because the small mammal, I don't care, even if it is a rabbit, isn't gonna beat cats or dogs, right?
Yeah. Right, right. Although I think a pair of long-haired guinea pigs could give maybe cats a run for their money, but in general I agree with you that small mammals are not in that top tier.
I knew a guy in Chicago who had a pair of long-haired guinea pigs whose names were Belladonna and Took.
Well, there was a time maybe like 10 years ago, probably longer than that, where I was like, I want to get a pet, but like can't have a dog. Like, maybe I should get a guinea pig? And reading about them, and it's like, if like guinea pigs are really show social animals, so don't have one guinea pig, get multiple guinea pigs. And that was a bridge too far for me. Even though I would love
Yeah,
the idea of
like
like
too
watching
much.
TV with my guinea pigs, like brushing their hair. That sounds really relaxing.
It's the same problem as chinchillas. Like it would be awesome to have a chinchilla. It's like such a cool animal, but like you need to, they get too lonely. Mark, we ran out of time. There was no applause on that video, which is what the one of the wrinkles that makes it not a good video. But dogs number one, cats number two, right?
Hard to argue.
We were accompanied today by Elb Philharmonie. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Yesterday, Nintendo released a new trailer for Mario Golf Super Rush. The big news for me,
Yeah.
the trailer confirmed the game's starting roster, which is, I'll run it through real quick. No real surprises. Maybe a couple surprises. Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, Bowser, Bowser Jr., Boo, Donkey Kong, Rosalina, Pauline, that's kind of cool. Toad, Chargin' Chuck, which is like the football guy from Super Mario World. King Bob-omb is in there, and then presumably you're me, at least maybe in the multiplayer modes.
Yeah. It's a good, if like sort of predictable character list. For me, the exciting inclusion here is Pauline. It's so rad and makes me think that we are going to see her again that like she will be in the extended like roster of Mario characters that just shows up and stuff.
Yeah, and she's in Mario Kart Tour, the mobile game, and so I'm wondering if like Mario Kart 9, like you were saying, like she is basically becomes like the new Rosalina.
Yeah, totally, totally.
What
And
do you
yeah, that
I was just gonna say, if she's was in Super Mario 3D World, like what do you think her power would be? Right? Because she's not gonna
oh,
float like
cool.
Princess Peach.
Right. Huh. And she's not going to have like an extra close range attack like Rosalina has.
Well, one thing I was thinking is like, I wonder if she could have an extra jump that's like facilitated, kind of like using her hat, like Cappy in like Mario
Yeah.
uses Cappy in Super Mario Odyssey. Like she like because her hat is such like a prominent part of her design.
Yeah. Well, and that would also make sense because the way Rosalina has that like extra attack is like Mario's abilities in the games where she comes from. So the logic extends to Pauline's abilities would be like Mario's abilities in Super Mario Odyssey. So yeah, basically her hat would be a cappy that can't capture people.
I am also excited for everybody's golf outfits. Um, that is a fun part, like more so than like Super Mario Tennis Aces, where there
Yeah.
weren't really any memorable outfits in that. I feel like golf gives the designers a little bit of a license to go crazy with plaid.
Yeah, Wario's pants. I mean, I feel like in the real world we don't see too many plaids that are purple and yellow. But Wario doesn't care. He's gonna wear the ugliest, loudest pants you've ever seen. and look great in them. I'm so excited about Wario's pants.
Yeah, Wario's pants are definitely like um he looks like he's coming from like playing the trombone in like a Squirrel Nuts
Yep.
Zipper cover band or something
Yep.
like that.
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
very ska to me. It's very ska.
Which is probably why I'm so into it. We should at some point rank the golf pants of the Mario Golf Super Rush characters.
That sounds like something perfect for the end of June when uh this game comes out. And also in the trailer they show off, in addition to the speed golf multiplayer mode which we had seen in a previous trailer, there's also battle golf, which I think is new. At least I don't remember it being brought up, but looks
Yeah.
like goofy fun. Plus throw in the story mode, which includes some like RPG elements, and the game looks pretty good. Like, to me it looks more fun than Mario Tennis Aces did.
Yeah, at the very least, it seems like they are presenting more like genuinely interesting game modes. This battle golf seems super cool. It's a 4-player, like you're all just dropped into an arena where there are multiple holes, and it's just a race to see who can claim 3 of them first. Which is such a cool, weird twist on like the idea of golf. That like I'm just it's very cool. I'm into this.
Yeah, I think so too. One of the details that I'm not clear on is like how online works, or if online works for all of the multiplayer modes.
Yeah.
Like, can you do speed golf? Can you do battle golf in like online? And how many different switches can connect when you're doing it? Like, all that stuff I haven't really dove into. But yeah, it looks like fun. I can't remember the last time I played a Mario Golf game.
Yeah, I mean I played the 3DS one a little bit, then picked it up again just a couple months ago. Just cuz I was getting excited about Mario Golf, and now I'm like, no, forget it. We're playing Super Rush. Just got to wait.
Yesterday, big news was announced in the entertainment sphere when AT&T said that they were going to spin off Warner Brothers Media, or Warner's Media, into its own entity and combine it with Discovery, which seems like so random and crazy. But what the relevance here is that a few months ago, maybe a few weeks ago, there were rumors that AT&T was looking to sell WB Games, and that was later denied. But as part of the reporting around this new entity, this new merger with Discovery, WB Games' future is again kind of up in the air. There were reports today that like some of the studios were going to be sold, or like some of them would be retained by AT&T, some of them would be part of this new entity. So it's difficult to know exactly like what is going to happen with WB's
Yeah.
developers.
It's super tricky because like a lot of the WB studios are like tied into specific WB IP, right? You've got Rocksteady, who's doing the Suicide Squad game, WB Montreal, which is making the new Batman game, and obviously like NetherRealm. I mean, I just sort of think of the Mortal Kombat games as like WB IP at this point, but like, are they, or is it just NetherRealm IP? Like, I guess we don't really know. Um, and like, but then there are also like the other studios that just make other games where that aren't specifically tied into uh, uh a very specific IP. I'm like tap dancing around TT Games, who makes the Lego games, which are obviously tied to individual IP, but like from sort of all over the world. Um, and like we're still waiting on a release date or like an announcement of when the Skywalker saga, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, is going to come out. But like, is that in danger again now? Like, what's going on there?
Well, I mean, unless like Warner's Media like moved ahead of time to shut down studios or anything, like this deal with Discovery wouldn't actually close until 2022. So I feel like,
Okay.
and plus, like Lucas, they're that game specifically is also tied into a deal with like Lucasfilm, and so
Yeah,
I think like I think that game is probably safe. But yeah, you bring up a good point about I think the Lego games in general, it's just it's interesting how much that they leverage. I guess they do it from everywhere. Let me start all over because I do think that it's like it is true that they leverage a lot of like Warner Brothers properties, like you get Harry Potter stuff, you get
yeah,
Batman, like all that kind of stuff. But then also there are Lego games. Lego feels kind of like agnostic, like even though they've been a part of WB
totally.
games, they're kind of able to do whatever they want. The one that I'm interested to know what'll happen with is Monolith Productions, like the people who most recently did I think they most recently did the like Middle Earth, like Shadows of Mordor games.
Yeah, Shadows of Mordor and
And
Shadows of War, Shadow of War.
I don't know what they've been up to since then, but it feels like because I think the sequel was like 2017, so 4 years ago. So I'm curious what they have been working on and what that will mean for them. Um,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, honestly, I think you can really put WB Montreal and Rocksteady in the same boat too, right? Because well, they both have games that we know are like the what's in the Batman game called? Arkham Knights is what it's called. No, is that no? That's Gotham Knights. I don't know. I don't
Gotham
remember.
Knights, I think.
Gotham. Because Arkham Knight was the last one,
Right.
the
It is.
PlayStation 4 one.
It's Gotham Knights.
Okay. Um, but like that game was recently delayed until next year. Um, but for both of those studios, they've been sitting on those games, not sitting on, they've been working on them for a long time. And it's been, when we talked about this last time of like, that they're trying to sell off these studios that make these like great games that sell really well. It's like, yeah, when they finish them, it's been so long since the last set of Batman games that like, I wonder if, wherever they go to next, if, they survive beyond putting out just these games and they're like, all right, you take too long, you cost too much. um I mean, especially when I mean, AT&T bought Warner Brothers and all of Warner Media and therefore Warner Games before Suicide Squad was even announced, after Arkham Knight came out, and have not seen that studio make any money for them the whole time. That's wild.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, the AT&T deal, uh, like because they bought all of Warner Brothers, they got so much stuff that I don't like Warner's game that just kind of like came with it that I don't think that
Yeah.
they were ever like really interested in. And so I think the reason to be worried for the future of these studios in their current form is like when you look at the reason AT&T is spinning off Warner's media and combining it with Discovery, and it's going to be run by the CEO of like Discovery, and so probably a lot of that leadership team is going to be taking the helm. It's like, okay, they're doing that because they want to be like a streaming like entertainment giant. And where do games fit into there? Like a expensive, like risky business. It's like probably not anywhere. Like DC Comics, which this new entity will also own, at least makes like
Yeah.
some amount of sense in the same way like Disney owning Marvel Comics makes sense. It's like, yeah, like they're going to create new stories and they can continue to leverage these characters and like licensing the merchandise and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, great. We own DC Comics. And so now we can turn that into HBO TV series and like a Discovery reality show or whatever they want to do. But like, what are you going to do
Right.
with this games division?
You got to spend a ton of money and wait years and hope that they create a mega blockbuster. Like it's just it's the games industry problem, like in a nutshell. But all of which we have no clear image of right now. Like it's a little bit the same spot that we were in a couple months ago when the rumor was that they were going to be selling the games division, and now we're just sort of there again, where we're like, what's going to happen? It's I am reassured by, and I think you're right to say that the Skywalker saga, Lego Star Wars Skywalker saga, is probably a sure bet will come out. But I feel like everything else is maybe in some form of danger.
Yeah, I mean, I could just totally see some of the big publishers coming in and taking these developers like piecemeal, right? Like, okay, great. Take Two or whoever is going to take NetherRealms and um, you know, EA is going to pick up TT Games or whatever. Like that feels most
Yeah.
likely to me. But you are 100% correct that like it is way early in this and entirely speculation at this point.
PlayStation should grab Rockstar and WB Games. That would be a coup for them. Well, especially because like I don't know that and maybe I'm wrong. Microsoft maybe has all the money in the world, but I feel like they made such a big purchase in the form of ZeniMax last year or earlier this year, whenever that was. Um that I don't know if they're in like a place to make another like huge purchase. But you know, it's a fire sale at this point. Like everything must go.
I would like
Maybe.
I mean, I feel the same way about this that I did when the rumors that they were looking to sell WB Games in general, where it's like, I am not excited by more consolidation in the video game space. Like, I think
Right.
it'll be sad if we lose WB Games as a publisher because that is like another company that, like, at least ostensibly is competing with these other, like, monolithic publishers. And so it, like, yeah, like, it does feel inevitable that this is going to get broken. In my mind, it inevitable this is going to get broken up and like sold off to different companies. But it would be nice if it is somehow like able to, I don't know, hold together or something. I just like the idea of less consolidation.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the interesting thing is how little that seems to be uh I mean, this news is a day old at this point, right? So like there's so much we don't know. Um but like, you know, I saw a headline that was like Dune is no longer going to be streaming day and date on HBO Max. And it's like, "Oh yeah, of course. Like these are promises that a different company made to their audience, and now it is transformed into another company, and they don't have to keep those old promises anymore." And that it's just the loss of all these old promises where I'm like, oh no.
The Pokemon Company has started a new program in Japan focused on spreading the charm of Piplup around the world. Uh,
Okay,
it,
all
it
right,
is it is
okay.
referred to as Project Pochama. Pochama is Piplup's name in Japan. The Pokemon Japanese YouTube channel released a cute 1 minute video of a Piplup being styled and photographed to kick off the promotion. It's actually the Piplup is not actually styled or photographed, but like the Piplup is like a mascot costume and like comes into the room and there's all these clothes and they're like, holding a shirt up to the Piplup and everything, but he doesn't actually change into the clothes. And somebody's like running a comb through the Piplup's hair, but like nothing, like the Piplup looks the same, but then is getting all these like glamour
Right.
shots. It's a lot of fun.
Piplup is of course a little blue penguin, like or maybe it's just a generic bird.
Yeah, I don't know
Maybe
what
not really
Piplup is supposed
penguiny.
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, a little like bird looking type thing. There's also a Japanese Twitter account and a Japanese Instagram account for Project Pochama. But like Patrick was saying, Piplup is a water type Pokemon from Gen 4 from Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl, and probably not coincidentally the upcoming Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes that are coming to Switch later this year. So I feel like Piplup is getting the glow up that Eevee got around Let's Go Eevee. And so
That makes sense.
I think Pokemon Company is ready for the world to fall in love with Piplup. I gotta admit, it's working a little bit on me. Didn't care about Piplup at all. I have no memory of where we ended up rating Piplup. I gotta
Wow.
stop.
Yeah, you do gotta. Well, here's the thing. Didn't we just determine the best starter? I don't think we ranked them.
Oh, you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So he wasn't number one, is all we know for sure.
That's right. Um, Also, speaking of the Pokemon Company, they released a music video for the song Electric by Katy Perry that'll be featured on an album being released as part of Pokemon's 25th anniversary celebration. The music video features Pikachu and Pichu, and Pikachu and Katy Perry are like in a lighthouse. They're running around. Pikachu is prominently featured.
They're also helping a young woman like discover her like artistic voice. And the young woman either is a young Katy Perry or isn't. It's not clear if they're traveling through time or what's happening. And she, the young Katy Perry, is accompanied by the Pichu. Well, Katy Perry is accompanied by the Pikachu, which sort of casts the Pikachu as the, you know, geriatric Gen 1 Pokemon, right? So he's like the old elder statesman helping to guide the Pichu as Katy Perry, of course, Mark, like you and I, among the geriatric millennial generation. I think that's what's happening there.
That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. Square Enix announced a Dragon Quest 35th anniversary special that will stream live next Wednesday, May 26th at
Ooh.
8:30 p.m. Pacific time. The first time one of these events has ever been simulcast outside of Japan. The announcement for the stream says, quote, introducing the upcoming lineup in the Dragon Quest series. May 27th is Dragon Quest Day, and to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the series, we're bringing you a special broadcast to showcase all of the latest information about what's going on and what's yet to come in the world of Dragon Quest. Patrick, it feels a
Yes.
little too early to me for them to be talking about Dragon Quest 12. But do you think we will finally get the Dragon Quest IX remake that I so desperately want?
Ooh, boy, that's tough. Here's the thing. I don't expect this to be any mainline Dragon Quest thing. This is either like Builders 3 or another spin-off of some kind. Just because like I guess a remake would fall into that category, but man, a remake of 9 would be tricky, right? Because it's so like multiplayer focused.
But doesn't now seem like the perfect time to do it when like you could have it on Switch, which is the most
Yeah.
multiplayer capable like Nintendo console? And like we're up to that point, right? Like there were Dragon Quest 8 released on the Nintendo 3DS, and so it seems inevitable that 9 would be coming out. That game has to be like over 10 years old at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there are also a ton of earlier Dragon Quest games not on the Switch yet. Really, it's just 1, 2, 3, and then 11. So like if they wanted to put, either the like remasters or remakes of any of them on Switch, I
Yeah,
think that
that's
would
true.
be big news too. So
Yeah, the fact that they're simulcasting it like outside of Japan for the first time, on the one hand,
it's
I'm like,
interesting.
oh, it must be because they're going to be doing something like kind of big. But on the other hand, I could also
Right.
see them just being like, well, we're trying to make Dragon Quest more international. So it's not that we have like huge announcements for this. It's just that, that's part of our attempt to broaden the reach of Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm sort of expecting it to be a waste of everyone's time, but it could be cool. It could be cool. Do you think there's a world where uh they do like a worldwide launch of 10, like a
Oh,
remake, and because 10 is the MMO, which like has an audience in Japan, but like never released
yeah.
outside.
I don't think so. I guess I don't think they'll ever bring it to consoles here because it's so, especially now at this point where there's been so many expansions that the amount of localization work must be just like out of
Yeah, it'd be
control.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, like
But
maybe.
like they must be seeing some success with Final Fantasy 14. Like it's the same company, right? That like that's doing well. But I guess the two brands are sort of incomparable. Final Fantasy does not equal Dragon Quest, and the other way around.
Yeah, although I do wonder if they would look. I mean, I think Dragon Quest 11 did fine outside of Japan, but I still don't think it's like I don't think Dragon Quest is despite their many attempts, like they tried it with Nintendo published 9 on the DS. They had a big ad
Yeah,
campaign around it. I think starring Seth Green. There have been pushes to make Dragon Quest like as big as Final Fantasy in outside of Japan, and it hasn't ever really caught on. I think they've had the most success with 9 and with 11, but to me it just feels like I don't know if they're ever going to be able to do that, and so it would be cool if the next Dragon Quest had like a worldwide release, like that might help.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But I wonder if, like, instead of trying to bring 10 over, if they would bring, like, if there's going to be, like, a mobile MMO or something like that that'll be international.
Yeah. So it could be a fun day of announcements, and it could be a frustrating day of
Yeah.
mobile games. Like, who knows?
It could be literally anything. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited, but I am keeping my expectations low. EA has announced that their next big EA Play Live event is going to be held July 22nd. This is a departure from previous years where EA held their event in June, right around E3. I think in 2019 it was like the weekend before E3, kind of capitalizing
Yep.
on the excitement around it and having like journalists in LA to cover E3. EA hasn't been releasing a whole lot on Switch, although recently they've been sporting it more than the first few years. You know, we've gotten like Burnout Paradise, and most recently the Plants vs Zombies game from PopCap. And my personal wish list, and even if it doesn't come to Switch, uh, that would be okay. Would just love a Dead Space collection. I've
Yeah.
never played the third game, but I really like the first two games. It scratches that Resident Evil itch probably more successfully than any other like franchise for me, and so I would love to see Dead Space make a comeback.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I also, every time we talk about EA games that should be on Switch, I got to bring up The Sims 4. Like, why is that not there? There's obviously an audience for that sort of like chill out simulation game on Switch, proven with Animal Crossing. Also, it will never come to Switch, but what if we get details about the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does seem like, when did that game come out? 2019?
Yeah, like December 2019.
Wow, yeah. So maybe we will hear something.
Have I ever told you my pitch for a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order?
No.
So the story of Jedi Fallen Order like wraps itself up in a way that I find frustrating, but also like kind of completely like put sort of a cap on the end of it, and acts as like a fun little like capper to the prequel trilogy. My pitch for the sequel would be Star Wars Sith Fallen Order, and would take place immediately after the sequel trilogy, where you're playing like the last surviving member of the Sith.
Oh, cool. Like you're one of the dudes in the big arena at the end in a robe.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those dudes in a robe who like came from where, do what, are about what? No one knows.
But that's perfect then, right? It's a blank slate.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I'm a dude, I'm in a robe, I'm on Exegol, I'm in this Coliseum, everything collapses, the Emperor gets evaporated, like what happens next? I'm into
What
it.
do I do now? Yeah, yeah.
A new art book for Kirby Star Allies was released in Japan last week, and in it is an interview with the game's director Shinya Kumazaki, which was then translated by Nintendo Everything. There are some neat insights about the difficulties in making Star Allies and what lies ahead for the Kirby series. Says, quote, "We say this every game, but the team and I overcame many difficulties making Star Allies. There's always a sense of uncertainty at the beginning of a project, and it's natural we were hesitant about including some of the Dream Friends, but we worked together to make it happen. When working on the 3 free updates for the game, we encouraged all team members, young and old, to give their input on what they thought fans wanted to see. It was very difficult to organize all the suggestions, but I think Star Allies is a compilation of Nintendo and the Kirby team's efforts. With its release, we've finally broken the 11-year drought of side scrolling titles on consoles. We also added cooperative multiplayer that fans have waited for, another accomplishment that the staff feel great about. And now finally we can move on to the next phase. I will still try new things at work every day, talking with my colleagues about where to take the series next. Together with them, even if only to please a single fan, we're planning for the next stage of our future. The team is a culmination of the best aspects of the Kirby franchise, and we hope you'll look forward to what we have coming next."
Uh it's interesting. There's there's the thing of like what happens next, or like what they're trying to do next with Kirby, and like I don't know. I never think of Kirby as like a very forward facing franchise. Like it always feels like it is like chasing the nostalgia of even like the very earliest games. Even in talking about the Super NES one, that has basically contains a remake of the original Kirby game in it. Um, it's interesting to hear and be like, oh yeah, so we were trying to get like everyone's old favorites in the last one. It's like, yeah, that's what you do in everything, right?
Yeah, it is interesting. I feel like I shared like very much the same view of Kirby, and that is because there are a lot of Kirby entries that have passed me by, and so maybe if I had played like Planet Robobot or something like that, that feels like a little bit more of a um stretch, or not a stretch, but like changing things up for the Kirby franchise, that I would feel differently. But yeah, like, the last Kirby platformer I played before Kirby Star Allies was, I don't even really know. And so my like view of what Kirby is very like specifically tied to those games like Star Allies, which is very much to my mind like a nostalgia trip.
Yeah, totally. And I guess the one before that would have been Epic Yarn, right?
Yeah, maybe was there one in like I know that there was a remake of Kirby Superstar, but that was for the DS. So yeah, must have been Epic
Well,
Yarn
it's
probably.
console. He's saying console side scrolling.
Oh, got it, got it,
So
got it. Yeah.
he's very specific with his words to make the 11-year drought sound impressive.
But yeah, like it does feel like it's it's been a few years since Star Allies. I know that we got Kirby Fighter 2. I feel like Kirby is ever present.
Yeah,
But a new Kirby like game still feels like an event to me. And so I am interested to see what they come up with next.
yeah, agree.
Finally, the LucasArts Super Nintendo Classics, Zombie Ate My Neighbors, and its sequel Ghoul Patrol are coming to Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on June 29th in a package elegantly titled Lucasfilm Classic Games, Zombie Ate My Neighbors, and Ghoul Patrol. It's going to be $15, available digitally, with limited run games making a physical version for select platforms. But details on that are coming sometime this summer. The package, in addition to the games, includes like a quick save feature and museum features, like interviews with the developers, things like that. We talked about zombies ate my neighbors.
It
I was really
Yeah.
debating. I was trying in that like brief 2 seconds to get the name of it right, and repeating myself until I got there. Zombies ate my neighbors. We talked about it way
Yeah.
back in October 2017 in an episode all about zombie games, where we also talked about our experience with Zombie U and Resident Evil 4.
Um, this is a cool package. I mean, not that the games themselves are all that great. Like, Zombies Ate My Neighbors is like a fun kind of like campy, overhead, not really horror, but like horror themed, action game. Um, but the price is right here. $15 is nice and low. And just knowing that it comes with the sort of bells and whistles that we see in the Blizzard Arcade Collection, like this is a cool trend. This is the kind of thing I want to see more of forever, is bundling together of like some obscure-ish Super Nintendo games with museum features and a rewind functionality and all that kind of stuff. I'm all about this. And I've never even heard of Ghoul Patrol. Never even heard of it, Mark.
Yeah, me either. I was like, oh, is this like the European name? Like, what is going on here?
Who knows? No one knows. But yeah, it seems like a handsome little package. I can't believe that for one episode we talked about Zombies Ate My Neighbors, Zombie U, and Resident Evil 4.
Patrick, it was like episode like it was an early episode of the show, October 2017. We were about a year old. We were mere babes.
Yeah, we thought we had to talk about like a whole bunch of games. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, please share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. That would help us out tremendously if you would do that. You can follow us on Twitter and tag us while you're sharing the episode with people. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nincart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.
Hey, it's Mia.
Hey, it's Allie.
And we host the Rom-Com Review podcast, P.S. I Love Rom-Com.
Each week, we'll have incredible guests come and discuss a new rom-com, grand gestures, meet-cutes, and of course, that elusive chemistry. Mia, what are you doing holding that giant boombox over your head?
I'm hoping to win over listeners with this grand gesture. Take us back!
Find a new episode every week.
And subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Brought to you by Campfire Media. Wow, you're still holding that boombox.
Yeah, I've got great upper body strength. Thanks, CrossFit.
P.S. I love rom-coms.
Campfire.